Hello and welcome to a new section of stories especially for YouTube. We are proud to present Folklore Tales. The first one, Fairies. Fae are one of the most asked about beings and have origins dating back centuries. The word itself developed from Latin to French, meaning enchantment, magic, something incredible. Today, the imagery of fairies is of delicate, beautiful, winged female beings with tiny human forms covered in fairy dust and sparkles. The reality is rather different. Fairies take many forms. Some see them as lights, others as tiny humanoid folk who camouflage into their surroundings. They can be both beautiful and horrifying. Throughout folklore, fairies have had a variety of temperaments as different as their appearances. J.M. Barrie famously wrote that fairies are so small they only have room for one feeling. But some, even the most horrifying, can be benevolent and helpful, whilst others can be evil and malicious, even though beautiful to see. The common denominator is all fairies are both mischievous and capricious. They can change from friendly to ferocious without warning and are easily offended, so tread carefully. In my experience, Fae are very much connected to the natural world, much preferring the privacy of the woodlands, forests and countryside, and rarely venturing into heavily human-populated areas. There is so much mythology and folklore surrounding fairies that it would be a long video indeed to cover it all, so I will focus on 4 types of lore associated with them. The first is the fairy courts. According to Scottish tradition, fairies can be divided into 2 primary categories. The first is the Seelie court, and the word Seelie translates to English as blessed. The fairies of the Seelie court are generally considered to be benevolent and are known to help humans in need, but even with this friendly disposition, the fairies of the Seelie court can be dangerous if offended. The fairies of the un-Seelie court, in contrast, are always harmful to humans. The un-Seelie court includes the likes of the Nuckelavee and the Redcap, and sometimes the restless souls of the dead. Fairy mounds, also known as fairy hills or fairy forts, are the remains of stone circles and other prehistoric dwellings found in England and Ireland. These remains are said to either be homes for fairies or portals to the other world. Fairy rings, the most common thing people associate with fairies. They are naturally occurring rings of mushrooms or toadstools that are said to be the locations where fairies congregate. According to English and Celtic mythology, fairy rings are caused by fairies dancing around in a circle at night. Any human who stumbles upon these festivities and enters the fairy ring is forced to dance until they are driven insane, die, or pass out from exhaustion. The final piece of folklore is something called changelings. The term changeling originates from medieval literature. Stories of changelings involve human parents that are left to raise a sickly or malformed baby after their own baby had been secretly kidnapped. Other stories of changelings involve human-fairy hybrids. The term changeling was originally synonymous with the cambion, which was a demonic product of human and demon. Over time, the terms cambion and changeling diverged as people's views on demons and fairies diverged. In modern fantasy and folklore, a cambion is specifically a human-demon hybrid, usually the offspring of an incubus or succubus, while the term changeling is specifically a human-fairy hybrid. I hope you've enjoyed this little dive into the fairy realm. Wherever you go with fairies, make sure you are careful and respectful. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this, drop us a like or a comment. We'll see you on the next one. Stay safe out there. Happy hunting.